This is the North End. This is the North End.
Party people, what is up? This is the North End Podcast, a Premier League fan channel representing all the teams that we can get organized into the night here in Canada and across the world, because we're an international fan channel show. Joining me this evening, as always, my good friend Brian Ireland. Welcome to the show, Brian.
How you doing?
Good, man. Passage of time evident in both your face and the wall behind you. The perennial man-child, JP California, calling in from somewhere heated and warm, because it's probably California.
Stupid hot. It's 95. Going on vacation up to some Bay cities in California this weekend, so it's gonna be great. It's only supposed to be 70. It's gonna be cool.
Sure, man. I just came from California. It's not that hot. You talk so much shit about it.
Yeah.
Dave Convery, tell me how you feel about that.
It's such a joke. Like, Paul, we have a guy who was on the ground. We have Paul Forrest who can speak to the actual temperature there. So what have we learned here? We've learned that JP's full of shit. Now he's going to go to Big Sur.
Same thing. So
Big Sur's glorious.
By the way, I learned that California smells like urine. Everywhere you go, heated
Venice
urine.
does. Venice does.
Sure. Azaz, what's up, buddy? Have you been to California? Does it smell like urine? Do you agree?
I have been to California. I do not agree it smells like urine. I think it's amazing. At one point in my life, I do need to live in a place that's hot all the time. Doesn't have to be for long, but just for a little period of time. Just to
We can
see
do a
how-
house exchange.
Yeah, I
I
think
feel
that's
like
a great idea.
JP got to you. I don't know how or when, but it feels like he got to you. Like he's money was exchanged. He's part of the California Tourism Board. He's always talking about how hot it is, and he's sliding people cash, not to say that it smells like urine,
Venmo.
even though
That's what they
he
do in
knows.
the U.S.
Yeah, it's Venmo. in
They
America.
Everyone Venmos each other.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking Venmo. Okay, guys, are we ready for the show? This is the big preview show. The season starts Friday. I'm not
God, I
ready.
can't
I'm not
wait.
at all ready, but
I cannot wait. I'm so excited.
I've had the special privilege of going through all of your picks as we go through the game that we go through at the start of every season. Again, usual spiel. We don't know what we're talking about. Almost always get these picks radically wrong. Part of the fun is going back to these picks at the end of the season and realizing we have nothing to say that gives us the position of having our own show. We're not experts on any subject.
No. But Gary Neville gets everything wrong, every single thing
Yeah.
wrong, and he gets paid millions by Sky. So
Did you
we're
watch the
allowed-
overlap today? Did you
Yeah.
catch the overlap today? How he
did,
caught
yeah.
himself on the Liverpool and the Salah thing?
100%.
He admitted it though.
Yeah.
He admitted
Yeah,
it,
he did.
but
He did.
he
He
owned it. That's one
He
thing
did.
I'll give him. But yeah, he was
Yeah.
dead wrong.
Yeah.
I think I will also give him his multiple championship and like Champions League wins. So I think he offers something
Not
a little bit more.
related to punditry, and I don't like when people do that. You can listen. There's a lot of people that have won a lot of trophies. It doesn't mean you can talk about football and know what you're talking about. The two are not the same thing.
That was Dave Convery, who's watched a lot of games and has a show. So
Listen
that's
to
great,
me.
everybody. That's great, everybody.
When
To reiterate, nobody here knows what they're talking about, but we're going to be going through some picks. The picks are as follows. We've asked everybody to give us their top 6, their relegation 3, their breakout star for the season, their surprise of the season, and the pick for the Golden Boot winner. I think what we'll kind of do right now is we'll go straight to the top 6, because I think there's probably the most talking points in the top 6. I'm going to start with my man, Ireland. Ireland, you went through your top 6. Talk to me about the selection process here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the top 3 are pretty obvious. Everybody else seemed to have the same choice. I think Chelsea's going through a bit of a transition period. They still think they're good enough to finish in that 4th, especially with some of the transfers they've gotten over the line in the last couple of days or the last week or so. I think Arsenal in Europe are going to struggle a little bit with Thursday, Sunday, and I think United are new manager and transition period as well. So I think the first 3 the first 4 kind of pick themselves, and the order could vary, but I think that's likely the case. What you're looking at.
I don't want to ruin the surprise here, but the first 3 are locked in across the board. Every single one of us, all 5 of us, agree that Man City to finish top of the table. Liverpool to finish in second, and Spurs to finish third. If you watch the show at all, you might think it's maybe biased towards Spurs. Rest assured, most of us think they're crap, but this might be a good season for them. I am a little surprised that well, not really that surprised. I guess as is the voice of reason typically, I thought maybe he would be the guy who did the vision board thing and tried to put it up, down, and said Liverpool's it's going to be their year this year. But no, it didn't seem like he did.
I did not.
I'm interested to hear about that, though. Interested to hear from Azaz specifically why when we get to that point.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Well, I think I can.
I mean, do you want me to go now?
I think
Let's
I can
go.
maybe get us to do that.
So I don't think. I think if I'm being neutral and actually taking a look at where City were, the business they've done, where we were, the business we've done. Bear in mind there was 1 point and a Rodri handball between it, so like I don't need to get like too down on anything. But at the same time, it's very difficult if you're being neutral to bet against Manchester City. The one thing I will say is, when I say that we're going to finish second in this prediction game, it doesn't mean I'm any less hopeful and even optimistic for the season. And then the season's just going to play out how it is. Going into 1920, when we ran away with it, for want of a better term, I would have put Man City first as well. If you've just won the last four of the last 5 titles, and even if the business is relatively similar, like I almost feel it's a little bit weird if you're coming in even as a Liverpool fan, because then how could I give credibility to anything else I'm saying when it would be pure emotion. So that's what I would say. I think my emotion does say we're going to win the league, we're title favorites, I can't wait, and I'm very excited for the season. But on pure logic alone, I'm putting Man City first.
As basically saying he thinks Oprah is full of shit and vision boards are for pussies.
But how close is it though, right? Because we look at the business in the summer and the big name, and we have to be honest about it. Haaland goes to City. It's the big name. Nunes goes. I mean, we just watched the Charity Shield. As you and I, we were all messaging in the group. But I guess my question is, because I have City number 1 as well, and I'm going to say the reason I have it is squad depth. And that's the reason specifically. How close do you think it will be, Azaz? That's the question I wanted. Like, do you think Liverpool can take them to the wire yet again?
100%. Like, I'm never, ever betting against Jurgen and what Liverpool are going to do. They've always had better players than we have, right? Like, it's never been over an 11, over our best 11 versus their best 11. It's often been like you can take one or the other. But when you start to look at like 18s and 25s, they've always been generally better than us. Last season, you could argue a few things, particularly when Diaz came in. But we went into last season with Firmino and Mane completely not on form for the first half of the season as well. So, yeah, I think it'll be very close. I think the World Cup's going to mess stuff up anyway. Like, let's see where we are in November. We might want to do another one of these for January the 1st, because it's possible that one of these teams has taken off because they have a really fast start and then they get this second preseason. The Haaland thing though, mate, like you've heard my opinion on it. Like I think Haaland is going to be a world-class player. I don't think he's there yet. I do think there is a lot of hype behind him. Do I think he will fulfill that hype? I absolutely do. But like, I don't see him as like a finished, like in our group, I wrote Van Basten, put in Batistuta, Ronaldo 9, like whoever. I don't see him at that level yet. Does he have all the tools? Yes. Is he the number 9 of his generation? Like, as in nobody could be at that level because they're 21, 22 years old. Yeah, he's 100% that guy. But like, it's not like they're buying the finished article yet. He has to come to the Premier League and prove it. And I think it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get settled as well. I think Haaland will be terrifying next season versus this season. I think this season he's going to get like 18 to 21, 22 goals. So
Okay,
You know,
guys, let's just keep.
He'll
this to
feast
the
on the
top
bottom
6.
half. He'll feast on the bottom half.
I'm gonna warn Connie with a yellow card that his questions that always go randomly on tangents away from the actual task at hand, which
Good
is
questions.
focusing on top
Great
6.
questions.
Connie does that never.
Yeah. So I think we're pretty clear. I don't mind describing the point difference between teams, but breaking down the rationale behind it when we're all saying the same thing just feels like we're going to get stuck in the bit of the mud. So I'm going to go to JP because he actually did do something unique in that same top 3. Nobody's changed their points there. He has Arsenal finishing in 4th, but he has West Ham. He's the only one of us to pick West Ham to finish in the top 6. I think maybe this is worth a conversation.
Skamaka's his new favorite Premier League player.
I think West Ham's doing stuff very quietly in the background. No one's really taking note of them. I think that's going to do them a world of good. But honestly, I'm so fucking bored of having the top 6, the same top 6 every fucking season. I hope half these teams don't make the top 6. Honestly, I hope they all just
for anybody new. This is coming from an Aston Villa fan.
Yeah, bitter Villa fan.
And I think West Ham have done really well. I think a lot of people sleep on them. I think they were really close to a top 5 finish last year. And you know what? I think David Moyes is being super underrated. I mean, I don't think we've really mentioned him all summer. So
why would we mention him?
They've overachieved. They've overachieved, man.
What has he done this summer that we would bring up David Moyes?
Yeah, really.
I think he's doing other stuff. He has 2 bids in for 2 Worldies and Omaha, dude. I don't know his last name's Omaha.
No, they're getting him today. The guy you're talking about, I think they finalized it today.
They're willing to spend money, and West Ham.
JP, stop. This is a wishful thinking list. You're saying you hope this is what happens. Do you think West Ham will actually crack the top 6?
I hope they do. The thing
I win the lottery.
Hold on. I just also don't know how strong some of the other ones is. I had to leave out one. Partially had to.
You can say Man United. You can use the team's name. It's Man United.
Just say it.
I left out Man U just for YouTube, but
we know.
Man U can get in the top 6. Sure, West Ham can get in the top 6. Sure, I think Newcastle will be sniffing around that top 6 too.
What?
So we'll see.
Interesting. Dave, you had very similar pick to no one. Again, top 3, the same with everybody else. Your stance is quite different in that you were very clear that Man United will finish in 4th and will beat out Chelsea and Arsenal. So I'll give you a moment to speak to that.
I'm really impressed with what Eric Ten Hag has done since he's come to the club. I don't think I'm the only one. Really good preseason, total shake-up at the club. I think Ole was the arm around the shoulder guy, keep everybody happy. This guy's a no-nonsense manager, and there's a lot of chaos going on there. I think Ten Hag will outmanage. I think with Chelsea, even with United through Chelsea, like 3 to 5. I genuinely think could be interchangeable with the way things go. I just really like what Ten Hag's doing. I think he's going to get the most out of the squad, and I think he's going to push them into top 4. I see things going slightly wrong at Chelsea, but they're still getting a Champions League. And Arsenal, I don't know. I'm not fully convinced. I still think there's some young players there. I like what they're doing. I like what Arteta's doing. I think all 3 of those teams will be sniffing around it. And even Spurs. The reason I have Spurs specifically in 3rd is 2 reasons. Conte and Basuma. I'm not fucking jerking off like everyone else about their transfer window. I don't think it's incredible. I think the signing of Basuma is the actual best piece of business done in the Premier League. Paul knows how I feel about him. But Antonio Conte's got them.
But let me interrupt. You just said it. The difference between Spurs and the other 3 clubs you got behind them is Antonio Conte.
You got it.
The transfer window itself wasn't overwhelmingly good. It's just been solid in the right places where it's.
Basuma's an incredible signing. Brian's going to transform your team. And I don't think people have gravitated to that yet.
Let me finish speaking. It's not overwhelming in the sense that they've made the starting 11 better. They made the squad much better. And they can manage that type of squad in these types of situations. So that's why.
No, I think they're going to do well. And again, Gary Neville actually made a good point today, and people forget this. The difference between Spurs and a lot of these other teams, all of these other teams, They have two world-class players in Harry Kane and Son. You know what world-class players do? They win you football matches. And again, United, Chelsea, Arsenal, tell me who's right now the world-class player on those squads. Could emerge. And again, the reason I have United in fourth, they have a couple of young guys I think are really going to blast through this year and really impress and make some spots their own. But yeah, and like Basuma in that 6 hole, holding the midfield up, giving the ball to the forwards and letting them do their thing. If he stays healthy, I don't know. I don't know how far they can go, but I do think
Isn't
United.
he already injured?
Connie,
Isn't Basuma already injured?
I don't think he's playing this weekend. Brian, correct?
Yeah.
I don't think he is.
You told JP to be realistic about his choices, and you picked United.
You don't think United can crack the top 4? You don't think United can crack the top 4? Do you think they're that far off Chelsea and Arsenal?
I say that far.
Have you watched any of their preseason games?
Your top scorer is like 40 years old.
Preseason.
Our top scorer is not going to be there when the season starts. I don't think. We've got an overhaul going on, guys, and the window's coming. Trust me, I know it's a stretch, but you're going to see a different Manchester United.
We're halfway through the window. You have a month left.
Dude, you're going to see a different team than you saw last year. Dude, you saw the second half of the season, you saw a group of players that didn't play for a manager because they knew he wasn't going to be there. They literally gave up.
Azaz, do you want this one or should I jump in for this?
Hold on a second. Hold on. Stop. Do you think it's that unrealistic for United to finish 4th?
David, I'm going to ask you to not interrupt people when they're about to tee off on you.
Yeah. Like you put it up there. Now you have to defend this shit. You just
go ahead. I'm waiting for you to make a point.
You just said your top goal scorer is not going to be there, right?
I don't think he'll be there. No.
Okay. So
he wasn't there the season before, and they finished second.
Yes, you were here for our last podcast where you talked about how Chelsea just lost like some of their top goal scorers. What is United going to do to recruit a top goal scorer and then still get 4th?
I don't know. Maybe what I started with my I think the manager is going to take the squad and elevate, like Bruno Fernandes, not a good player. Jadon Sancho, not a good player. Is Marcus Rashford shit? Like Raphael Varane. They've also made some decent signings. Brian, is Christian Erickson a good player? Do we think he's a solid player?
I think he was a good player when he was young.
Oh yeah, you didn't think he was good at Brentford last season when we were talking about him every week?
But let me
go ahead, Azaz. Tee off.
Can I just say, Man United, we're now 3 weeks after we had this conversation in our group, and Man United have got Martinez over the line, who is now the shortest defender in the Premier League.
Yeah, but so is Thiago Silva, dude.
Sure. So in midfield at the moment, Man United have got Bruno Fernandes, Christian Erickson, Ahmad, Fred, Donny van de Beek, James Garner, Scott McTominay, and Hannibal. That is not a top 4 midfield. And I
agree. They have to get a midfielder in.
That's it. Like, we have 3-4 weeks for United to get something over the line. You know, you're starting to hear like the Neves talk, and if they could get two midfielders of good quality in, yeah, of course they can get into the top 4. But while we're making these picks right now, they are weak in a few positions at the moment.
I'm gonna pin us because we are gonna be talking about United again. So I'm just gonna give you my top 6 again as of today. I'll jump to it. Man City and Liverpool in a tight race. Man City to win. That's tight. Tottenham, who had the 3rd best record in the league since Conte was appointed last season, will continue to be a very good team this season. I don't think they're going to be in the race late in the race. I think they're going to be in the race up to a point. In a season where the World Cup may cause a lot of whatever could happen, that is probably exactly where they might want to be, because that might be enough to give them an advantage should something happen to various players in the other teams or whatever the fuck the World Cup does to this league. I do have Arsenal finishing ahead of Chelsea, which is probably the most controversial pick I have. I like the pieces that Arsenal have assembled, and I feel like this is the season a lot of things just fall into place, and we actually see how good that team is and maybe how good Arteta is. I don't think he's that good. I put them 4th mostly because I actually think Chelsea are going to have a difficult, regressive season. I don't necessarily like the pieces that they've lost. I think some of the pieces that they've come in feel a little bit like just spending money on whoever's available.
Yep.
I feel like United used to do or have done over the last 4 or 5 years.
It's kind of
very similar.
Like you can kind of see it. The guy, the American who's come in, he's got no support, he's got no teams, he's buying or going after these kind of big names that they've always been attached to, and they're not getting all the deals they want, which is not that's not necessarily going to cause them a lot of issues this season. I just think with this team, I think they're going to have a hard time scoring. I think their defense will not be as reliable as it was in the past. I think it'll still be a very good defense, but I think in combination with Arsenal getting better, I kind of like Arsenal to surpass Chelsea this season. And Man United today, as of right now, I finished 6th because they don't have a midfield. That could change pretty easily, but
honest answer, Paul. Appreciate that.
But I mean, you can't really glaze over the fact that a midfield's kind of.
See, I didn't do it like that though. I picked on. I think Chelsea are going to get in players. I know they will, and I think United are. I like when we did this. I made the assumption on things still to happen in the market and where it's going to go. But you know what? You can't argue with what Paul just said. Like that's very feasible. Top 6 as well.
I mean, I will put it this way: if De Jong comes to Man United, it's not going to change my opinion of a 6th place to finish. Like we would need somebody like 2 or 3 more players, and depending on the quality of those players, I still feel like 6 is where we're going to end up. But I'm judging this season more about the progress they make than where they finish, if that makes sense. So even if they finish 6th, that's not necessarily a wash of a season for me as a Man United fan. Anyway, so this is where we are in summary. Again, a lot of similarities across the board. I think some of us are toying with the position of Chelsea and Arsenal, kind of moving them forward or moving them backwards. But in general, I think there's a lot of consensus there outside of a lot of people seem to think that Man United should be in 6th. And JP comes in with they shouldn't even be in the top 6. It should be fucking West Ham.
Change
West Ham.
Parity. We need parity in the league.
Because you and I the exact same picks at the top of the 6. Impressive.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, you guys were cut and paste. It was easy. So I don't know, listeners and viewers out there, if we got it right, let us know. If we got it wrong, comments are there. We'll throw it up on screen or we'll reply to you later. But we're always open to criticism, especially JP. He loves being told he's wrong about West Ham.
Tony struggles.
He loves West Ham.
Careful.
Just I'll put this up here again, just so in case anybody wants to specifically call out JP California.
I'm sure Bobby and Bryce will all agree that they think that United should probably drop out of that top 6. I think they'll agree.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure they would love.
Should and what will happen are 2 wildly different things called reality.
I think
Bobby says the same picks as Dave for him. So
let's fucking go, Bobby. Let's fucking go, baby.
I mean,
also, I want to take a moment and admit, like 2 to 3 years ago, I picked Pepe from Arsenal to be my breakout star of the season, and we all know how well that's gone. So I do want to take some ownership.
All right, so we're gonna get into the less joyful news. This is our relegation section of the show. Brian Ireland, I'm gonna pop this up here on screen for you. Obviously, let's talk through these picks.
Interesting.
I think Leeds just have struggled with losing the manager and the system they had in place and what got them there in the first place. And I think when you look at Fulham and Bournemouth, I just don't think they're going to do enough and have enough quality to stay up. And some of the other teams that normally would be in that conversation, I think, will like Forest. I think will be similar to what we saw with Brentford last season. They've done a lot in the window. I think they brought in like 8 or 9 players. It's pretty silly. So I think they're doing the things they need to, and I think Leeds, Fulham, and Bournemouth have not done enough. Yeah, that might change. It could happen with the rest of the window. That could shuffle slightly, but I think that's probably accurate based on what we know about these clubs so far.
Nice. JP California sitting in his evil, like James Bond chair. Like whatever the thing he's doing.
It's got it actually.
What's going on, man?
Forest.
I agree. After watching Leeds versus Villa in the preseason, I just don't know if they have enough in the midfield to keep them involved. Their players, while some of them are very good individual players, they don't seem to play like a team. I feel like Leeds are just going to struggle with the new coaching setup. Fulham just haven't done enough for me. It was between Fulham or Bournemouth. I just don't kind of like Fulham, so they can go down. And Forest.
I love the way JP makes his picks. I love it.
I know.
I don't like it, so they're gone.
I know.
Forest is they've recruited like 10, 12 guys. They've recruited like an ungodly amount already.
But it's good recruitment if you look at
But as Villa showed me, like we had to do it. We got like 12 guys in one summer because we literally got rid of like 8 or 10. It's really hard to get a team to gel when they all come together. They're all coming at different points in the summer. It's just very difficult to like make a brand new team and then have them start winning games from the get-go. And when you get into a rhythm of losing, your confidence gets zapped. I really feel for them. I hope they do stay up. I just don't know if they're going to overcome this summer of a rebuilding year for them.
So I'm going to ask you the question because based on the logic you just gave me for Forest, who did spend money, are one of the top spenders in Europe. Why are you isolating them and giving Bournemouth a path?
Well, actually, I was going to have Bournemouth or Fulham, but Fulham did what exactly Forest is doing 2 seasons ago, where they bought a bunch of guys and tried to make it happen, and they went straight down. I just don't think Forest quite have it.
Your logic, though, in summation, is that a championship team without major additions can come in and save itself.
No. Like that's not it. It's too many changes. There's a right number, right? The right number for a newly promoted team is like 4 to 7 changes, and they're going past that, and it looks like they're not stopping. I can see them getting.
No. I don't even talk to you about Nottingham Forest. Like, you can leave them out of it. Like, I don't care about them. Why are Bournemouth getting the safety, and you think Leeds will go down instead of Bournemouth based on the logic you're describing against Forest?
Yeah, Bournemouth is going to be right there. They could literally be one of the teams.
Bring up my list, and I'll explain what you're looking for. Bring up my list.
Sure.
Bring up my list, and I'll give you the answer you're looking for. Okay, Leeds. You know why they're going down? Because he sold their 2 fucking best players. Rafinha and Calvin Phillips are gone. Yeah, Rafinha, gone. Calvin Phillips, Man City. Rafinha, Barcelona. Should have been Chelsea. But, yeah, that's why they're going out. They're 2 best players by a mile. We don't know the health of Bamford. And from what I've read, they haven't replaced any of them. And we watched them, guys. The second half of last season, they were a shit show. They were they were playing like a championship team. The whole Bielsa ball thing, Bielsa's gone. They didn't really bounce back after that. They're absolutely going down this season unless they do some major work in the market, which I don't see happening. And again, Fulham and Bournemouth for all the obvious reasons. They're Fulham's going up, going down, and Bournemouth, same thing. Like, these are nailed on. I like Nottingham. Nottingham Forest as a team play good football, and I can see them finishing like between 14th and 16th.
But they didn't keep any of those guys who played good football.
Yeah, what do you mean? They've got a bigger squad now. You need a bigger squad to play in the Premier League.
Like 4 of their guys were loan guys. That was their huge stars were all loanees.
Dude, and I think they're getting most of them back.
No.
Dude, I
Davis
don't know.
was one of them. He's not coming back. Roman was the Man United guy, right?
Okay, hang on.
He's going to go back. He's going back there 100%.
We're not talking about clubs that are not on your list because that's stupid.
True. But I like my list.
Interesting to note that Leeds have 5th most spent in Europe are Leeds with 120 million spent this summer on replacements.
Who?
They've got
Adams,
Brendan Aronson, Luis Sinestra, Tyler Adams, Rasmus Christensen, Mark Roca.
I like Tyler
and
Adams.
it's who they bought from as well, right? Like, they've
Adams
obviously got a strategy
Ericsson's
behind what they're doing. It's like Leipzig, Salzburg, 2 from Salzburg, 1 from Bayern. So, like, they know what they're doing. There is a strategy behind it. We don't know if it'll work or not, but obviously their manager and their transfer team have got a bit of a strategy. They did lose their 2 biggest players, so they are going to be in trouble. But from a perspective of what they brought in, it's not the names, it's the systems that they're obviously trying to bring in.
Correct. Azaz, talk to me about your picks, man.
I think Connie just nailed Fulham and Bournemouth, to be honest with you. I think just like not enough recruitment going on. Fulham, for Fulham and Bournemouth, what I would say is, can Mitrovic and Dominic Solanke do the thing that got those 2 teams up? I don't think they can. So, Dominic Solanke's been on our books before. Mitrovic has had his cracks in the Premier League before. Yeah, he's a cult hero. I get it. He does well at international level, but
Very well.
week in, week out, when his team are, playing 7-8 men behind the ball. I don't mean like necessarily ugly defensive football, but just the fact that they're always on the cosh. He's not that guy who's going to suddenly pop up. He needs service. Fulham were the best team in the league. He was getting service. He was being supplied. Don't see that happening. Same thing with Bournemouth. I don't think Dominic Solanke's the guy in the top league. So it's goals, the reason why Fulham and Bournemouth are going down. Brentford are a funny one because they actually did some business this summer, but whoever knew that Scotland had 3 awesome left backs? So obviously we've got one in Andrew Robertson. There's Tierney from Arsenal, and then they just bought Aaron Hickey from Bologna, Hearts to Bologna to Brentford in the Premier League, and he is very good. He is, and they also got Ben Mee, and they've got the Albanian goalie in goal from Lazio, but.
Stay up based on what you're saying right now.
Sorry, but I was just going to do the but I think my thing is I think the bubble burst on Brentford, and I think
the bubble
that. Sorry,
Erickson is the bubble that burst.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. Yeah, exactly. So
he saved them last season, right?
Well, he did. He turned around. They were in that quicksand. They were falling fast. Erickson turned it around. He's gone. Does the quality of the players they're bringing in, even come close to the creative quality that he showed? No. So I think it's going to be a second season.
You nailed it with Mitrovic. You nailed it with if things are going well. Yeah. I personally think Mitrovic is actually a solid Premier League striker. Now that he's going to be in the Premier League with Fulham, and they are going to, he throws his toys out the pram if it's not going well. He has meltdowns. But if he's kind of the guy, and the point maybe I'm alluding to, if he was on a mid-table top team, I really do think he's an effective guy. But you're right. If he's not getting service, he won't track back. He'll have meltdowns on the field. He apparently goes bananas in training. But with your Brentford point, let's not forget last season. Brentford, remember the Liverpool games, some of the other games? They ran their asses off. They pressed. They played hard. And Brian nailed it last season, and we all knew it. You can only do that so long with a thin squad. If you don't have a deep squad and everyone buying in, but let's not forget they played some incredible football last year, and that's it's the reason Man City live. You could. We're gonna bring on Mahrez. We're gonna bring on Grealish and Holland. I don't know. Maybe we'll score, right? You know what I mean? They were running themselves ragged. And unless you have the bench, and that's why I think everyone's got Tottenham in third. Tottenham, more than anything, they've built, never mind the starting 11, they've built the squad. And in the Premier League, you need the squad. The games come thick and fast. So I agree.
And 5 subs as well.
Yeah.
Well, it's unfortunate that you agree because it'll make my next point pretty mute. I got the exact same relegation list.
Shout out Ivan Toney.
I just generally think of the 3 teams that get promoted into Premier League, 2 always go down.
Yep.
So Fulham are not going to be able to do what they did in Championship because they just can't have a guy score 40-plus goals. That's just not going to happen. Bournemouth, I watched a fair amount last season. Parker's a good manager. I just don't think they've got Premier League quality in that squad. I'd like them to go down. And then
Did
Brentford,
you hear his comments?
No. I did not, but I'm going to finish my thought before we get to Parker. Because again, fuck that guy. Brentford, you just can't. You cannot discount what they were doing in the league before Erickson got there, and now they have no Erickson, and the summer signings to a team that was recently promoted to the Premier League. I think they've got 2 guys that actually look like they've got Premier League experience. So the same issues that were their championship team that were not that good still stand. The magic that was Erickson last season will not be duplicated. So I think Brentford, who are still a very well-managed team, and they actually gave a lot of teams a lot of trouble, they just weren't good enough to keep to the style of play that they play in the Premier League. And I don't think that changes. Ben Mee's a great signing. As an example, he will do a job for them, but Ben Mee's not going to keep you up in the Premier League. And I guess you have to say this because why didn't I pick them? I think Nottingham Forest and their 16 new players have a bunch of guys who are not just Premier League players, but some of them are very, very good Premier League players. Like Jesse Lingard is a very good Premier League player to join Nottingham Forest, as an example. Dean Henderson on loan from Man United is a very good Premier League keeper because we've seen him do it before. So
Yeah,
that's my story. I'm going to throw up see if there's any comments before we move on.
there's a good one from Bryce right there about Damsgaard coming in for Brentford, which could be signing. I don't know.
Yeah, Damsgaard.
Cheers, Bryce. Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, Damsgaard. No, he's no Erickson, but I mean, it is a player in that position that could be it all.
If he comes.
If he comes, like I said, if he comes, I didn't say that. I said.
And can I just make a baseline comment too? Like again, we follow, like Brian follows Spurs, Paul and I follow United, Azaz. Like we all follow our teams. We don't necessarily follow like the bottom half or even the mid to bottom half. That's why I love the first like 3 to 4 weeks. There's all these new signings from all these other teams. And I have no idea who they are or what they're capable of, but there's always like 4 or 5 guys from these teams who are like, holy shit. You'll like watch a game. Right? You'll be like,
Dave, is that what's happening?
He's unintentionally segueing into the breakout star without meaning to.
I'm not meaning to, but like, you know what I mean though? Like a Mahrez, like for Leicester, or like something like, oh, who's this guy? Would love to have him.
You're like
right?
a child wandering into a good movie accidentally.
So
correct.
We are going to segue into the breakout star. This is kind of defined as the player, team, manager, mascot, journalist that nobody's heard of really before this season, that will come into the frame by the end of the season where everybody is aware of them. We try to avoid like obvious signings, like Man United signed a left back. We're not going to put him in there because he's kind of overqualified to qualify as a breakout star. So these tend to be like really like below the radar players. So I'm going to let Brian speak to his breakout star. Brian, your breakout star.
I guess so. The reason I call it a breakout star in this case, and I think Jacob Ramsey is a breakout star already within the club, but not necessarily in the league. And I think
who's he play for?
He plays for Aston Villa. He won.
Oh, I didn't recognize the jersey. I'm sorry.
He won. He was voted player of the season by the club and by the players, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Young player.
And he's just coming to his own. I think he scored 6 goals in the second half of the season. He's a smaller midfielder, but I think he's going to give Villa something, especially with Stevie G managing him in that position, something that Villa don't currently have or starting to get out of him. And I think he's going to have a really good season based on what I saw from him at the end of last season and from what I read about his progress. He looks like a player that's going to come good, I think, proper for Villa.
Amazing. I'm going to be very clear about this. I let this pick slide because I think breakout happened last season.
Yeah, he had 34 appearances last year.
I don't know.
No, I think it's a good pick.
No,
it's a good pick.
It's a pick that we allowed because it was clear he would have got stumped otherwise, and he was deliberately trying to not use a Spurs player. To his credit, he was trying to like leave the Spurs camp.
I was looking at other players that would have a bigger influence this season on the way a team plays, and it sort of started last season. And I think the club knew it, and the coach knew it, and the players within Villa knew it, but the league didn't. And I think the breakout stars in the league, not necessarily within the club.
Like I said, Brian, I will allow it, but it was a very close. Oh, come on, dude, 35 games.
No, it's a great pick. Don't listen to them, Brian.
JP California, tell me about this young man who does not play in the Premier League, has never played in the Premier League, and if he does play this season in the Premier League, will be breaking out in the Premier League.
Crystal Palace have a knack for unearthing a championship star. I think this young talent is going to be the next one that they just pulled from Derby, who was their like pretty much breakout star last year. And many clubs were circling him. I think he is going to have a phenomenal season for them. He's one of their young, tricky wingers coming in. I think he's going to do really well with Patrick Vieira. I really am excited by some of the players that Crystal Palace have. They now have like 3 of these guys to me. Eze, Mbowe, and oh man, who am I missing? Azaz, who am I missing, dude?
Why would Azaz know? It's Crystal Palace.
I'm not too sure, mate.
Oh, I thought he would know. There's 3 of them that they have that I really like, and 2 of them have already had breakout seasons, and I think this is the next one coming up.
Hold on a second. Eze got injured last year. Let me ask a question to everybody. Could Eze have been a pick for this season, or has he already been a breakout star? Genuinely asking.
I would.
If he had
not
a
count
healthy season, I think he could be a breakout. He showed glimpses, but he didn't do anything to become a household name last season because he just didn't have.
So it'd be a valid pick. It would be a valid pick.
Like it's
Believe
all made up
Believe
subjective bullshit. Let's just be very clear
Yeah.
about this first and foremost. I'm just saying if he played 35 games last season and we all had him in our fantasy teams because he was so cheap, like Ramsey from Aston Villa, then yeah, you can't call it a breakout pick.
That's fair.
But yeah.
By the way, my guy's 18. He's 18. He's gonna do.
Wayne
just
Rooney
fine.
loves
I
him.
can't
I'll
wait
say
for
this
that.
much. What I know about him is that Wayne Rooney loves him. He had not played a lot in the championship. He was not a regular in the championship. He was kind of breaking into that team last season. That's not exactly the same as being qualified to break into the Premier League, but he does come with a pretty decent reputation. So, hopefully we see some stuff coming out of this player this season, and this pick isn't a complete bust.
I've seen him play, and he's nowhere near it. He literally is a good he's a good championship. He's not going to get a lot of playing time. He is like about 3 to 4 paces behind Premier League speed. He's a potential player, but he's not close to it even yet.
Jesus Christ,
Dave's
Bob.
going to tell us his pick, and I realize now why he asked if Eze would have qualified, because Eze started playing, then got injured, and then came back. Very similar to Dave's pick, Harvey Elliott, who started last season really well and then was knocked out for almost the entire season.
Phil Foden 2.0 with at times better vision, better attributes. I think if this guy can stay healthy, I think he is kind of going to be the offensive sphere kind of behind in front of Henderson and maybe Fabinho. He just is, for me, another Phil Foden, maybe with not as much one-on-one, but I think his football IQ was higher. I enjoy watching him every time he plays. I think the big thing is just staying healthy. I don't think it's going to be right off the bat, but I think it's going to be about maybe 10 to 12 games into the season where he's going to be that kid where you cannot leave him out of the starting lineup anymore because he's that impactful in the way he dictates his play. His control, his touch, and his vision are nothing short of superb. He's kind of like Thiago and some of those players, like even if like someone on City or Liverpool, I fucking hate those teams, but I watch Thiago make a pass and you're like, I love football. You can't help but appreciate it. He's such a smooth, silky player. It's just, can he stay healthy? And I think if he can, he will penetrate that starting 11 and you know what? If things go right for Liverpool, I think he'll be part of it if they can push City and win a title. I think Harvey Elliott, Darwin Núñez will be massive factors in that. Love this player.
All right. Azaz, how are you feeling about your player?
Well, the funny thing is,
yeah, you could talk about my pick for a second. Azaz, talk about my pick.
Yeah. No, so the two's careers are actually very closely linked because they were both kids at Fulham together, and they're actually really good friends. And very random trivia that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but they played the exact same number of minutes in this preseason. So I think they're both going to have quite the bit part to play. And with Elliott as well, he started last season as the starter for Liverpool.
So good.
As well. So good. So what I'll say about Fabio Carvalho is, firstly, I've never seen anyone look so similar physically and on the pitch to a previous player who's played for Liverpool. Not the Coutinho who went to Bayern and now plays for Villa, who's a bit more muscular and has a bit more like lower center of gravity because he went on that Bayern Munich diet. But the Fabio Carvalho we have is like the Philip Coutinho we bought, so very small. Kind of slight, so that could be a concern. But when we were talking about Fulham, he scored 10 goals for them in the league last year and assisted 8. And this kid is young as well, so 18 goal contributions last year albeit in the championship. But he also played at that point one of the best teams. So if he's now coming back into, like, if he was signing for a mid to bottom table team, I'd be like, this doesn't really translate because you're going from the best team in the championship to a mid-tier team, and you're not necessarily going to have the same amount of ball. But because he's coming to a team, we're going to dominate the ball most games. He's going to get on the ball. He's going to be doing a few things. I think that is just going to set him up for a really successful year. And crazy thing is, in Elliott's season at Blackburn, he also had 18 goal contributions, more assists than goals. Fabio Carvalho has more goals than assists. But yeah, the kid's got it. He's 19. And I'm expecting big things.
Hold on. If he's your breakout star, right? So like when I picked my breakout star, I picked Elliott. Everyone had their own pick. When I say breakout star, I mean a guy who's going to crack the starting lineup and be an absolute influencer. So my question to you is this: where does he play position-wise? And more so, who does he replace in the starting 11 potentially? You can't make that pick and then not answer that question. Is that like you guys have a very good starting 11 with rotation, but if he's your pick, whose spot is he taking is directly what I'm asking.
Does it have to be in the starting 11? Like,
well, if he's gonna be a breakout star, that's kind of my point. Like I'm thinking Elliott's gonna crack it. Yeah, that's not a breakout. A breakout star is a guy like we talk about Tyreek Lamptey last year until he got injured. We're like, fuck, this guy's made the right back position his own, dominated. Sure. Whose spot is he gonna take if he's that good? Because the Liverpool fans are going off about this guy, like very excited.
Hang on, just know that you don't need to be a starter by the end of the season to be a breakout star. If we know you because you've scored some wonderful goals for Liverpool, maybe some match winners off the bench, you've broken out.
You got to earn.
It's not Divock Origi stuff, man. I'm talking like if he's going to take somebody's spot, and this is
who's
a question
asking
that
this
I'm
question,
asking.
Dave? Who's setting the standard?
I want to know whose spot, what position, who's.
Dave, thank you for joining us.
I got in shit for doing that when I kicked people out before.
No, I think it's a genuine question, though.
Yeah. Well, his heat maps have him having him replacing where Luis Diaz plays for us. So I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. If that's the assignment, Connie, then I don't see him displacing Luis Diaz.
Jump on my Harvey Elliott train. Jump on my Harvey Elliott train.
I'm down. I was like one. Because what I wanted to do, what Forrest said before, is I actually wanted to sway away from the Liverpool thing and try someone else. But then I was just like, you know what? Like in my, who I genuinely think will have a breakout season is Fabio Carvalho. So I'm going to do the genuine pick. And it was interchangeable with Harvey Elliott. Sure. Their careers, it's very bizarre.
Is that someone who have to justify yourself to David?
I'm going to move us on and just point out that yet again, we're spending too much time on a subject because Dave's line of questions.
Yeah. They're good questions.
Like pulling us back.
Shocking.
They're good questions. I don't know. They're thought-provoking conversations. Crazy.
I'm going to go with a little bit of a surprise because it's not like Man City to have breakout anything, but it's been 3 years since Foden broke onto the scene for Man City, so they're due at least one academy guy getting a chance every 3 years. Cole Palmer is a right winger who will be playing second fiddle to Mahrez this season, which means he will be playing quite a bit in the Premier League on the right because Pep Guardiola's rotation requires it, and because 5 subs will give this young man an opportunity. He comes with a big academy reputation. He is currently been involved in all preseason training. There's been a lot of conversations from Pep about him breaking into the team. He's definitely going to be starting the season as an understudy. He will not be displacing Mahrez. He will only be starting if there's injuries or if there's rotation. But again, with Man City, there's always rotation. So I think this kid's got kind of like some highlight reel stuff in him that is for that reason going to make him somebody that we're going to take notice of. And by the end of the season, be familiar with the name Cole Palmer, which also just on the basis of the name, that's just a cool name, man.
What happened to Connie? Did he get upset about being told off?
He left his chair, and I didn't like looking at an empty chair, so I took him off screen until he sat back down.
Yeah, I'm like, why am I backstage?
Yeah, I just have this thing about leaving your seat during a show.
Is he left-footed or is he right-footed, Paul?
He's left-footed.
He's left-footed.
Oh,
he's left-footed on the right. So
he comes with the reputation of being very good, just a little less so than Foden. Foden, who I think is one of the most talented players to come out of an academy in the Premier League, for the past 10 years. Like I think he's
tall though. Cole
He's
Palmer's tall though. Yeah.
He's very different build.
Yeah.
The comparison to Foden is strictly based on talent and potential, but apparently he and Sancho were like the guys who were all earmarked to break in. It was Foden, Sancho, and Palmer stuck around, unlike others, to see if he actually gets the chance to break into Man City.
Isn't he the son of a famous soccer player too?
He's Carlton Palmer's son. I think he's Carlton Palmer's son.
There you go. That makes me like him less because apparently he's had a silver spoon journey to the league.
Probably,
I don't know that. I don't know that for sure.
Oh,
it's just from the look.
Cole,
like
never mind. If you're watching, I'm sorry. I hope you work out the season. Yeah. So the next is the surprise of the season. And I'm going to quickly go through 3 picks because they're all the same. Brian Ireland, Forest will do surprisingly well this season. JP California, Forest will do surprisingly well this season, despite picking them as relegation.
Yeah,
no, that's not right. I gave you somebody else.
Azaz is going to say that Forest is going to do surprisingly well this season.
No, I gave you somebody else, dude.
Okay,
yeah.
Well,
for me, Forest is this. It's similar. I think it's going to be similar to Leeds.
We can't read that
from 2 years ago. I think that the big reason I think Nottingham Forest are going to have a great season is because of momentum, hype. Less like the train is chugging, and I also think, unlike Bielsa, who's a world-renowned influential manager, the fact is that they are a manager-driven team through promotion. Like I think with Fulham, even though I've just earlier said a few of their players won't cut it in the Premier League, I think that was more on the players versus the manager. Whereas with Forest, we know that they weren't going to be promoted if the manager hadn't come in, and then the manager comes in and they do this epic rise up the table. It's fairy tale stuff. I do think Lingard is a very good Premier League player. I think Nico Williams, who they bought from Liverpool, is a very good Premier League player. So I don't think that they've actually necessarily gone backwards from a perspective of some of their stars from last year who are no longer with them had never really done it in the Premier League. So I just think it's one of those where I went pretty safe with most of my shouts, but there's some romanticism about Forest that I'm like, whether it's logical or not, I just think that there's an emotion behind why I think they'll be the surprise of the season.
Is your JP West Ham pick?
No,
Brian,
mine was Leicester.
No,
actually.
I'm not talking to you. I asked
mine was
Brian
Leicester.
Ireland. Do you agree?
To be poor.
Yeah, I do agree. I think Azaz covered it pretty well. I think that the rise that they did in the last season in the Championship, quality manager, and they've done really well this window. Despite JP's point of bringing in a lot of players, I do think there's something to that. You can overdo a window, but I think in this case with the manager that they have and the momentum that they have, and them being such a big club in the Premier League or in England in general, that they'll have a really good season. That buzz, similar to what Brentford did last season, they'll sort of carry themselves into a good season. Whether they are able to stay up and maintain that over the course of the couple of seasons, that's hard to say. But I think this season coming into it, they'll do reasonably well. Finishing probably 15th, 14th, 15th, or something like that.
Okay, JP California, talk to me about your surprise of the season. Nottingham Forest to do surprisingly well. No, I'm
if
just
you check
Leicester City to do poorly.
I was like, I totally did not pick them to go down and to do well.
Yeah. So what happens is while you were about to song and dance and bullshit all over my slates, I just did something to replace it.
Oh.
If you just bided your time and bit your fucking tongue, I could have whipped this up.
If I bit my tongue, you wouldn't have known that I switched it. That it wasn't.
Yeah, you could have acknowledged it and moved forward. Instead, you were like, "Oh, it's not my pick."
I also texted you. Anyways,
that's enough of that guy.
I'm just about to explain.
Paul is like
Leicester City, who
he's
overcome
overcoming
Schmeichel or Kasper Schmeichel. Kasper Schmeichel moving on from Leicester today.
Tielemans looks out. It looks like James Maddison could potentially be on his way. Yeah. Like they are in trouble. They really need funds. I don't see them investing necessarily in new players. I could see them promoting from within, and they do okay with a few guys here or there. but you're talking about some real key players in their team. Jamie Vardy's getting old, and all the forwards they've gotten to replace him just don't hit the numbers that he hits. I'm gonna say they're going to be battling it out near the bottom 5 or 6 spots. I don't think they're going to be able to get a top half finish when there's other clubs that are reinforcing so well.
It's starting to get talked about that Danny Ward might actually be the number 1 guy. The backup keeper for Schmeichel last season might actually just get the gloves to be number 1, and he's not a number 1 keeper. Jamie Vardy is apparently being eyed by certain clubs because he's considered a gettable asset now, which is
Paul, I think
he's also 34 or 35.
Who cares if he's 34 or 45? He still scores them goals. If he goes, they're not replacing those goals.
He said, though, Vardy said, in the media, a few days ago, he said, I'm not leaving the club. What they've done for me, what they did for me, I'm not leaving. So Vardy will stay. But he's also
different situation, Brian, because what you're pointing out is somebody refusing to push for a move. If they're financially trying to recoup on players,
maybe that's
then
fair.
Maybe
the loyalty factor goes out the window where he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
and aren't
every player
they in
at Leicester
financial trouble as well? Are they not in a little bit of financial trouble? So, yeah, that's
COVID
interesting.
In the new training ground.
And then apparently people are eyeing up Fofana as well. So, yeah, kind of good show,
Let's
JP.
ask this question. I think I did not have Leicester doing well this season in my head. We never talked about what the prediction was for Leicester specifically, but for me, I was like, they're just going to be Brendan Rodgers, fall off a cliff. They haven't added anybody. They're a very beatable, playable team, and they're going to get more so with the loss of certain players that we already know are kind of out the door. So what is realistic? Because I had them in my head, 8th or 9th was kind of where I had them. But JP, you're saying they're going to be surprisingly poor.
I'm going to put them 14th to 16th. I'm going to put them 14th to 16th.
Well, hold on a second. Hold on. Would we not agree that they'd have to lose a couple of players for the remaining transfer window? Maybe losing a Tillemans and somebody else in order 100%. For it to be for... Okay, which I think is fair.
I'm going to say people need to go for them to be poor. Right now, I think maybe 9th, 10th, or 11th, but I'm going to... Casper's already gone. If they lose 2 more guys, James Madison and Jamie Vardy, let's just say, they're going to be hurt.
I don't know. They got Daka and Iniacho up top, who I don't hate. I like those strikers. Harvey Barnes stays healthy.
Harvey Barnes is, for me, an amazing player, but he's not enough.
I just said Daka and Iniacho. They're both pretty solid, right? I think that's scoring power, which is what you need in the Premier League. I think you got to keep your players. So, you got to remember when before Fofana got injured, they were pretty solid. He was people are putting 60 million price tags on him right now.
Iniacho had 4 goals last season. 4.
How many Daka have?
I don't disagree with JP that traditionally in the last couple of years, Leicester have been spoken as the one that might break in. They might break into the and compared to, I think they have a pretty flat season. I think it's a good point because I don't think they're going to go upwards. They've not done necessarily enough to stay where they are. So the slide means naturally it's just a bit of a surprise based on their trajectory over the last couple of years. They won the league in 2016. They won the cup. They won the Community Shield 2 years ago. This is a club that's meant to be on the way up. And I think it's going to be a pretty transitional season, which means it is going to be a surprise. I don't see them going down, though. I think that, we've mentioned,
I don't see them going down. I just see they're going to be poor.
Bottom half of the table.
10th to 12th. Yeah.
If they finish 14th, like JP is saying, I'll be the first to say I would be surprised. I would also be surprised if Man United finished 4th, which is what Convery wanted to specifically circle back on. He thinks Man United.
I don't want to spend too much time on. I'm just doubling down on the manager getting the most out of the squad. That's all I'm saying, guys. I know it's, and again, I want to say I know it's a stretch. Arsenal and Chelsea have very good squads. I just really like the way this guy's conducted himself, and I think he's going to get the most out of the team. I also think they're going to do a little bit more business.
Can I just say one thing? I just want to say on this, as a Liverpool fan, I love to poke fun at United, particularly in the off season, because during the season, as I wrote a few weeks ago, basically in the group I said we would ban Liverpool fans and United fans would banter in the summer, then Man United would take off in the season and like we just weren't your business anymore. I feel like it's a little bit like that these days. So I'm using this time to actually get some banter in. However, what I will say is what Connie's saying and what I've heard from other Man United fans, I do think that there is something to enjoy and appreciate about where the current Man United rebuild is going to go, assuming it works out. Because those first years of like Klopp, it's a bit different with Conte because like he just went in and like took them to the top four immediately. They also had two world-class players that he did it on the back of. So like it's not the same thing. But like with United, particularly if Ronaldo goes, like that next year of like seeing the rebuild and like seeing what could be in 2-3 years time, and you're getting that piece by piece, and all the douchebags like me who support your rivals are still making fun of you, but really you're watching the 90 minutes and being like, I think I'm onto something. That is a magical feeling, and I do miss this 2017 2018 Liverpool when the momentum was starting. So I have to say that. On the flip side, and very quickly, you have to get that thing out of the club. You have to get that thing that is meant to be a legend who has left you twice and both times bolted. Like how this man is considered a Man United legend.
Don't call him a thing.
He won us. You know what the problem is? He won us 3 titles, a Champions League.
Listen, in the world football game, Cristiano Ronaldo is an all-time legend. Where Man United are concerned, he is no Cantona. He is no Wayne Rooney.
He is, though.
He is not. But he's
he
not,
is, though. We don't win those 3 titles in a row if it's not for him. We don't win that Champions League if it's not for him.
If you are a massive club, you cannot let somebody who has walked out on you twice be considered a legend. Like it's just
no. I agree, but you remember, like Wayne Rooney's our top scorer. He tried to leave, right? But like the hardcore fans remember
he did. You guys sing about Steven Gerrard putting in a transfer request, but he didn't leave. And in the same token, you talk about a guy who has now potentially walked out on your club twice as a legend. Like that's pathetic, man.
No, but hold on a second. I think but 2 different things. What you've done on the field and what you're doing off the field, which is what he's doing now. I think if you ask most Man United fans, and we can ask Paul, like I want Ronaldo to go. Like I think we need him to go as part of the rebuild, and I think he will. Hopefully he will. I think we'll bring in an attacker, but to Paul's point earlier, if we don't bring in, I'm not saying Frankie de Jong, but a midfielder and an attacker, I could easily slot these guys to 6.
Okay.
I think they will do more business, but I do think the manager bounce is going to happen immediately. I really do. And that's the basis of my pick, guys. And I know it's a stretch, but I'm
David said this. I think we're all clear about what his stance is. I don't know what Azaz is doing. There's having a tangent accidentally come up, and then there's
Azaz, we're going to start a podcast. This is what I love.
Referring to like club heroes as things.
Tangent podcast.
Like the most predictable segue I've ever seen.
Anyway.
Like,
he is though.
Let's do a separate show, but like don't throw a giant conversation piece like calling it somebody's hero.
This is the best part. These are the best parts, Paul. Let them happen, dude.
Big up.
These are the good. It's called
Brett
the good stuff.
is out there representing the Aston Villa Toronto club. We like those guys a lot. The Wheat Sheaf
only Facebook
on the
joiner.
weekends. I'm going to see them for their $7 pints and their $10 breakfast. Brett, correct me if I'm wrong about that, my big man. Good to see him. He's way more likable than Luke. I've always said that.
Congrats on the new kid, Brett.
Congrats on the baby. I'm going to surprise maybe some people. I'm not sure about this. Here's the story I'm going to paint. Everton do badly. Everton do so badly around Christmas that Lampard is out. Lampard is out.
Where's your
and
graphic?
they bring in
there it is.
Mr. Wayne Rooney. Surprises
DC
everyone.
United?
Taking control from
He just took a job.
DC United. The season doesn't run the entire year. Segues into his Premier League team. Probably going to be not very good condition and not very good shape for a lot of different reasons. But I think that's going to be the surprise. I think one of the surprises is predictable. Frank Lampard being fired from Everton is an inevitable thing that's going to happen very soon.
It's going to happen.
But this is my surprise. I'm going to call not just the firing, but also the hiring of Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, that's nuts, but funny one. I'll give you that. I'll give
Feasible.
you that.
Feasible.
Yeah, it's totally doable. Well, he's at
I'm
DC,
saying.
right?
Yeah.
You think he's
Yeah.
not going to last at DC? They're going to get rid of him, or you think
Everton
he's just
come
gonna drop
calling. He's dropping everything in DC and getting on the next
But
flight.
they-
I don't think the
already.
situation has got anything to do with him leaving DC because of DC. I think the situation is, guys, you get it, I'm gone, right? Bye.
Read the room, pal.
Bye. Bye.
I like this. Can we end on this question from a Daniel Munguia? I kind of like it.
What's the question?
Can we end on the question?
Yeah. I mean, once we answer the question, take a look in the comments.
Oh, this is very helpful cryptic information you're giving me,
Yeah.
JP California.
Who is the
It's-
top club hero who is now exiled? Who is like the snake? If we were going to find one,
No,
EPL
we're
guy
not.
who's
Why,
the snake.
can we end on a tangent question that's unrelated to the actual show we're doing? No.
Yes.
I think we can maybe circle back to that when the show is over because we're not even done yet. That's a great, yeah, that's a great question. But it's worthy of its own show and its own topic somewhere down.
I think so.
My God, I like how JP's like, oh, my friends putting questions up. Can we not comment on it?
Wow.
Wow. Golden Boot, Brian Ireland. Maybe predictably, I don't know if that's fair to say.
Oh, definitely.
Harry Kane, David Convery, Golden Boot, Harry Kane, Paul Forrest, Harry Kane.
Yeah.
3 of us have picked Harry Kane for the Golden Boot. Brian Ireland, why did you go with Harry Kane?
I think if you've spent any few minutes looking at Harry Kane's current physical stature that he's in, that he's in the best shape of his life. He's confident with the manager, and he's playing in a system where he's going to be, just everything is going to be through him, and I think he scored 5 goals in 3 games, 6 goals in 3 games in preseason, and he just looks a different player. Like he's gone up a level, which is hard to believe that could happen. He's going to score probably 30 plus goals in the league, I think, this season. And I don't think there'll be another player that'll do that. I think there's other players who are capable of it. But I think in this team with this manager, that's the difference between him and, say, Mo Salah. I know Mo Salah's done it before. I just think there were circumstances involved in that season that led him to get there. But Kane is he looks ridiculous. He's so fit. He's the fittest he's ever been in his life, and that's going to have a massive effect on how he plays. And he's incredible at the moment. So that's why.
You think he's going to hit 30?
Yeah,
Dave,
I do. I think
Brian,
he scored 18 in the season, and he barely even played in the first half last year.
Yeah,
Dave,
and he
Brian,
does get
has
injured.
Chosen Dave.
He doesn't.
Brian has chosen Harry Kane because he likes his body with his shirt off. Why did you pick Harry
sexy.
Kane?
Okay, you know why I picked him, and I respect and appreciate that he's in great shape, but I think he's the proven number 9, and he can even drop into the 10 and score and assist from there. But he's the proven number 9 in the Premier League. He's a wonderful finisher. I think the team is strengthened. They've got a great manager. I really like how they've solidified the midfield. And I think the thing now is the offense is going to get more chances. They're going to create more. And when you give Harry Kane more chances, he scores more goals. Like, Son is a wonderful player. He's a great one-on-one guy. But the elite finisher in the league and on that team is Harry Kane. All that matters is just them staying healthy, right? Like, and when I say them, I mean him specifically. If he can stay healthy and Spurs can do what everyone is projecting them to do, I do think Haaland, because he's going to feast on the bottom half, is going to be there. I don't know what's going to happen with like Darwin and some of the other. Mo will be the leading scorer on Liverpool, and depending on how they do, he might be challenging him and be right there, because I still think he's the best player in the league. But as far as goals go with what Spurs have done, yeah, it's Kane for me.
Quick note on his injuries before you go. Sorry.
Every season, Brian.
No, he hasn't. Didn't get injured last season once. In the season before, he was out 3 weeks total for the entire season. So
he comes back immediately. Everyone's like, "Oh, he's gone for a month. He's off like for 4 days."
So he's missed 3 weeks in 2 seasons. So the injury idea, the thing that Kane is just nonsense.
So he's back on track. He's a healthy player. Okay, that's even better.
Couple seasons comfortably, yes.
I'm going to go with Harry Kane because, quite frankly, nobody else outside of Mo Salah is anything close to Premier League ready to score the amount of goals you need to score to win the Premier League Golden Boot. Son is somebody I contemplated because you got to respect that he's done it. But I think that Harry Kane had a slow start based on
He was in
probably
before the kids.
Probably where his head was with the Man City potential move, slowing him down, and then the Euro.
Yeah.
So I think his head wasn't quite where it should be.
Yep.
So I think he's going to score bags of goals. I think he's going to go to the World Cup. He's going to go deep into the World Cup. He's going to lose to Germany in shootouts. He's going to come back to the Premier League. He's not going to be completely himself for first 5 or 6 games. It's going to look like somebody's going to catch up to him, and then he's going to score a hat trick against Aston Villa, and then he's going to be back on track. I think he's going to win the Golden Boot on his last day against Everton and Wayne Rooney with 3 goals.
But how many goals does he win it by? And is there anyone close to him?
I think he scores about 25. I think Mo Salah is the only other player I think who I think gets close to that this season, and that's why I'm going to let my man Azaz talk to me about Mo Salah.
So since Salah joined Liverpool, he's outscored Kane by about 15, I think it is, which is not small. That's like a regular Raheem Sterling season. So that's not minor. He's also got more assists than Kane since he joined the league as well. So I think Mo's clear, to be honest with you. Like, I feel if he was English, he'd be celebrated in the proper way.
Even without Mane.
Sorry?
Even without
Mane? I think I said last week, like, I don't see Mane the same way in terms of contributing. I think Mane was like a lot of stuff off the ball. It was Mo actually who has 2 people on him all the time, not Mane. Like, I think even
got from
no, for sure. You know what? The thing is, Liverpool are gonna, and Salah are gonna have to show what they are without Mane, because obviously Sadio's a legend and he's been at the club since even before Salah. So let's see the kind of season we have. The one thing I would say about Mo is he looked ridiculous last week against Manchester City.
He was deadly.
Right from the start. I rate Kane. I respect Kane. I think there's a little combination of the slight overrating English players get and the slight underrating that foreign players get.
But hold on a second. I want to shut this down right. Does anyone think that Kane is close to Mo as like a player in general in the Premier League? Like, we all agree that
you can't compare.
We all agree one of them's is a significantly better. Like, one of them's the best player in the league by probably a bit of a margin right now. Who's the second best player in the league? Maybe Harry Kane.
You think Salah is better than Kane?
Yeah.
I think Salah is better than everyone in the league by probably this much right now.
Wow.
And do you not think that?
No, I don't.
Because guess who else does? Everyone in the world.
Okay.
Everyone in the world.
Brian. Hang on.
Everyone else in the world thinks that, Brian. It's lunacy.
Clear on goals and assists.
Clear on everything, man.
Connie's gone again.
Yeah,
he's on everything.
He's clear on goals and assists, but also
everything.
Last year, when Harry Kane was supposed to be having this like amazing season as like a playmaker, Mo Salah got more assists.
That wasn't last. That was the season before, Zaz, when he won the Golden Boot and also won the.
Who's up next?
In the one season, the one player both in the season. So yeah.
Okay. It was just your pick for Golden Goal, guys. It was just Golden Boot. It didn't have to become who's the better player. And I'm just going to point it out. Dave Convery. Nobody asks more questions and then answers the question that you just posed to somebody.
They're the right answers. If you go to your fantasy group, 57%, 57% of people have picked Mo Salah in fantasy.
Kick him.
There's a reason they pick him. He's the best player in the league by a mile.
David Convery, when you were at your family's dinner table, did you get a chance to talk? I'll tell you right now. No, you didn't. Because you're answering for them all the time.
Well, tell me I'm wrong, though. He said, dude, does anyone think he's not the best player in the league?
We're not going to get
I don't think he's the best player in the league, no.
Well, you're deluded.
He's one of the top 5 best players in the league, for sure.
You got the Conte juice going, man. That whole fan base is fucking spiraling right now.
Okay, hang on. Let's
They're
talk to
spiraling.
We have people volunteering answers that are not just ourselves.
People
so
have their opinion. That's what we're
James is having a laugh about it because he obviously thinks that it's a ridiculous question. Bobby's telling me KDB is better.
Yep.
Justin's saying
KDB's good.
KDB is in the argument.
Great.
He's in the conversation for sure. He's best midfielder in the world.
Right. You can have
some comments about the African Cup and the state of Salah after it.
Very true.
I'm just saying, It's not quite as keen as that. So let's
Oh,
all
funny.
just get ready for the real proper fun. The Golden Boot, according to JP California, is a young man he's heard of at least a year ago.
Not a bad pick. It's not a bad pick. Very feasible.
It's not a bad pick.
It's not a bad pick at all. You got to remember the way that team
Thank you.
operates.
Thank you. He
He could easily
without
win.
a number 9.
He's going to put away 3
Without a
games.
number
This
9.
guy's going to be freaking
Yeah.
hitting the high numbers. If you guys are going to say Harry Kane's going to be up there, that 25 to 30 mark, I think Holland's going to be right with him. I just didn't want to do the obvious that all you guys would pick. He had 3 great chances. Honestly, 3 chances he should have buried. He should have had a hat trick against Liverpool, who have one of the best defenses in the league. And I think he's going to eat up everybody below the top 6.
Were you
will.
referencing a preseason game?
Yes.
Community Shield, it's a
was
trophy.
still a banger. It was
It's a
still
trophy.
a high-pressed, pretty energetic game. He
Break it.
is going to eat up everybody outside the top 6, and he's still going to score plenty of goals against the top 6. I'm terrified for when he goes up against Man U again.
Yeah,
I
he's
like
going to
that.
score against us.
But he's not
He
flopping,
is.
Alex, dude. I think you are absolutely crazy.
Yeah, the
He's
whole
going to hit
I
25
want-
to 30.
Guys, can I chime in on this comment? And I think that Zaz stated it correctly, and I agree with him on this. I think Haaland is going to have a good season. I don't think he's going to be Golden Boot material. I think he's going to, 18 to 20 goals probably. I think that's inaccurate. I think next season he'll almost be a dead set on getting the Golden Boot. But I think there's an adjustment period with the way the City are going to play with him, and that's going to hold him back from what he would have done had he moved into a club that played this style of football he was playing at his previous club, where he was going to get in behind easy, he was going to make all those runs, he was going to use his pace. He's not going to do that in this squad, and they're going to have to adjust the way they play around him, and it's going to take a season. But I do think he'll be in the conversation, but I think he'll be 3 or 4 goals short of winning it. But
He got 2 in behind that there wasn't that much space to get in behind. And he still got in behind, and then 1 he wasn't in behind, and he still got an opportunity to score.
but he
And
missed all.
he just missed. Like, he's smiling. People were bashing him, saying he was going to be a flop. He's going to do just fine. He's going to hit plenty of goals. I'm going to put him in there. I think he's going to be the Golden Boot winner.
Okay, hold on a second. Can I just throw one thing out there?
Are you
Like,
gonna
and
answer it,
Azaz, you watched the game. They signed 2 strikers. They signed a guy named Alvarez in January, and I got to be honest with you, he came on. No offense, I think Haaland's a great player. That guy could take Haaland's spot and be the break. He looked
Maybe we should
incredible.
pick him for breakout.
I literally was going back and forth between him and Elliott because as you watched the game, when he came on, he was electric and he played almost more like that Aguero style that Haaland will never be able to play. And I was thinking at the time,
do you think
maybe
he's gonna
this
score
guy's the
Golden
9.
Boot? Do you think he's going to win the Golden Boot?
I think Harry Kane's going to.
Then why are we talking about this guy? Stick to the
Because
subject.
it's conversation about the league, man. Holy shit.
JP California. Are you at all worried with Haaland's injury record? Do you think that missing
No,
a
because he's
significant
going
chunk
to
of time
get
in a
plenty of
softer
games,
league?
and he'll get subs because of the 5-goal record, and because they got this new guy. I think he's going to get sub. He'll still
No,
play.
hang on. Do you understand what I'm saying, though? He
Yes.
missed a
I
significant
don't
amount
think he's
of
going
time.
to get the amount of game time everybody thinks he's going to get. Nobody at City get over 25 games, and that in itself, that rest time, will allow him to stay injury-free.
Right.
Yeah,
So again,
but
game time works against your goal scoring numbers, and he's not going to be the main penalty taker like Harry Kane and Salah are for Liverpool and Spurs.
Yeah.
So
I think he's gonna
unless
be
you're thinking he's
just
scoring
fine.
3 or 4 tap-ins a game for the half the games he's playing, I just don't think the math works out that he's going to get enough to be in the Golden Boot conversation. I think he's going to miss some time. I actually think he's going to miss some time to injury this season. I think he's going to prove himself to be an injury-prone player.
And I know you guys are going to say different league, blah, blah. He's almost a 1-to-1 game-to-goal record. If he does 1-to-1 and gets 25 games, he's at 25.
JP,
And we all
Paul made
agree
one
he can
incredible
score more
point.
against lower teams.
not
Paul,
in the
JP, why are City so good week in, week out? They rotate more than anyone because their
They
squad depth is
control the
disturbing.
game, and
No,
they create
he's
30
never.
chances a game.
Mo Salah starts every week. Harry Kane starts every week because they need them to. City literally, he can play half the season and maybe still score 20 goals. But they rotate KDB all the time. Everyone's like, KDB's incredible. He doesn't play every week. He doesn't. Nobody
How can
does
he
on
be
that
in the
team.
top 3
Cancelo.
players?
Cancelo's like the one guy you can. Cancelo and Ederson are the 2 guys you can put on the team sheet. The rest of the 9 guys, Their squad's good enough and big enough to rotate them all.
Well, Connie,
And they do.
You guys asked my pick, and this is my pick. Suck my
Bad pick. It's not a bad pick, man.
Yeah, Justin's throwing out his pick. He's suggesting that we take a closer look at Gabriel Jesus for the Golden Boot. He will be a sole focal point for
Good
Arsenal,
show.
whereas the top scorer will have them other teammates.
20
If
goals.
you go by preseason form and what he's done so far for Arsenal so far,
Oh, yeah.
he definitely has the scoring boots. Like some of the goals he's scoring, you kind of forget how much of a natural finisher he is. Unfortunately, he got buried in the rotation of Man City. So,
Who's had a better
would I be
preseason
shocked?
than Gabby
Would I be
Jesus?
shocked if Jesus was a goal scorer or was in the race this season? I don't think I would be.
I won't be surprised, but I don't know if he's going to be top 2. I could put him at like 20, 24 goals.
But that 20 Premier League goals in a season, I don't know why everyone keeps throwing that number out like it's willy-nilly. If you score 20 Premier League goals in a season, it's not a good season. It's an incredible season.
An incredible season.
Is it not? What was the leading
folks,
score? 18?
That's the
23?
show
23.
running a little over. Thanks to adjacent segue-y, explorative, emotional, conversational, probing questions by some of us.
We all need a
David
mute button
Convery.
for Connie.
David Convery, would you like it if we had a mute button? I'll tell you the answer is yes.
Azaz and I are starting our own channel. We're starting our own channel.
You just like it because Azaz just lets the room sit.
It'll be like one.
No, he does the same thing I do. He brings up things that are
goes fishing.
topical and
be
they're converse.
Azaz
Like,
will be
come
the-
on. Like, I could have sat there for another 15, 20 minutes and watched Brian and Azaz debate Kane and Salah because it's a great debate and it's good conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is it
You're not wrong.
I think Paul's trying to do
Right.
an outro right now, guys. Let's
You're
go
not
on.
wrong, but we're kind of on a show that's got a
It's
time
too
on
much.
it.
It's too constructed.
Yeah, we're not actually at a bar, bud. We can go
Connie,
to a
I
bar
hate
and
to
do
see
this.
your car, dude. Like, feel like the inside of your car would look like a bomb went off in it. Too constructed guy, too organized.
I'm not that guy, bro.
I just feel like he would start a sandwich in his car and then just put it aside and start a different sandwich.
He has like a few cans in there, maybe some
He'd yell,
Starbucks
he'd
coffee.
yell at
cup.
the sandwich for not being
Azaz,
right.
Azaz, you're with me.
You don't have tomatoes.
I-
you don't have tomatoes.
I am with you. And I just want to say on the Salah v Kane debate, please just go and look at that season by season. Look at their assists. It's ridiculous the difference. Like,
Okay, guys.
I was just having a quick little look.
Don't stop
Just
him.
Please have a look.
I'm
Just
going to
have a
stop
look.
him because
Have a look.
we have a forum. We can just have this specific conversation about this specific conversation on a different show.
Definitely. Let's do it
Yeah.
next
Twitter.
week.
Hit us up on Twitter, guys.
Everybody out there, if you wanted to have us talk specifically or debate specifically, who is better, Mo Salah, Harry Kane, who is the better Premier League player, we'll do it. We'll rumble this. I got one guy in one corner, one guy in the other corner. We got 3 of us here, 4 of us here to judge. I like this idea. We'll do it.
I don't know why we need to.
I
Everyone knows
I
the
do
answer.
like it, yeah.
Season starts Friday, everybody. Get your fantasy football sorted out. Get it done. This has been the North End. Please like and subscribe.
folks.
Like and subscribe. David Convery, why don't you tell us your thoughts and feelings, and we'll leave on your note.
Guys, I'm super excited for the season. I'm super excited.
This is the North End. This is the North End.